think my favorite part of being a product manager is um it's like get the feeling that you helped to solve a problem for somebody. Just simply that.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. It's Hilary and Kim again, and it's episode 2. Last week I gave quite a lengthy intro, so I'm keeping it short. I'm just saying hi, and we're going to dive straight into it. Hilary, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, hi from me too. Hi from Africa.
Awesome. Cool. So Hilary, as per last week, Hilary will ask one question and I will ask one to her. So go for it.
Oh yeah, so today I was thinking that we could go into the differences between a project manager and a product manager.
Yeah, that's a very good
Yeah. What's your take on that?
Very good question because it's something that has such a blurred line in most organizations. I definitely have seen that project managers have transitioned to product managers, and I sometimes see that product managers also have this knack of being project managers. um, and I've been in projects where, project and product managers can get along quite well. And I've been in projects where there can be some tension. Let me just say tension, right? Product manager in tech. I see that the role specifically talks to ideation, being able to apply certain methodologies like design thinking methodologies to the ideation process, and then also being able to actually work out product roadmaps. So having a vision, as well as obviously the product vision, but a vision in place where you actually can see and can put together um, what the future might hold for that product. That sounds
Yeah.
very ethereal, but uh, practically how it could elevate into what the ultimate product vision is for that product. And
Hmm.
product visions and product roadmaps are never done in isolation. As a product manager, it's always using what the leadership of the organization is after. We're not going to talk about KPIs and et cetera, but it ties into that. But as a product manager, you are owning that and you are
Yeah.
familiar with developing that. But the heart of it, at least from my perspective, is that you're trying to bring to the forefront of everyone in the organization really the needs of the customer and
Hmm.
what the product is aiming to do, because you can so easily kind of go off on a trajectory down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And you kind of look a couple of months later, you're like, oh, we just wasted a few months and this is not really what we were aiming to achieve. And
Yeah.
also, you can so easily forget the customer and just go be developing for the organizational leadership or a profit line, and have that
Hmm.
empathy for the human being behind the product,
Yeah. Hmm.
um, which I think everyone does. I can't say that everyone in an organization doesn't have that. It doesn't mean that if you're in finance, because I've been in finance and you don't have that empathy for the customer, it's just not your focus. Like
Yeah.
the product team should have, and as a product manager, you should have a person behind it.
Hmm.
The centric approach, which I really love,
Yeah.
at the heart of the innovation that you're doing, and also to drive like innovation in the company. I know it's usually seen as the CEO's position, but I think the CPO and the product team, and as a product manager, you should be helping with that drive of innovation.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add lastly, I know I've given a long answer, but just product, on the product manager side, and I mentioned it last week as well, that being the connection between the two worlds for me is really important. And not only that connection, but we were talking off screen about that just now, actually being as versed as you can with your capability on what engineering is doing, like at the heart of it. And then understanding the client facing team, and also effectively client once, and just bridging that. I want to go into we develop product specs, we do user research documents, so that those kind of things are obvious to an extent. We can
also significant difference between the product manager and the project manager, because project managers basically don't do much of initial research unless you're a project planner. If you add project planning, yes, then you do some feasibility testing and stuff.
That's true.
But they're basically like scrum masters of product. It's just okay. Okay, so we need to go through this roadmap to get this result at this time, and then you're giving updates on every stage or every milestone, and that's basically it. And when the project is done, that's the end of it for you. Basically, you move on to another project. But for a product manager, there's no end to your abilities or what's expected, responsibilities, what's expected of you. Because you as the technology phase changes, you need to find out if your product still fits the market, or if there are some iterations, or if the users change. So there's that life cycle that you have to just keep at it. And so I see that as quite a big difference. And I think a product manager's responsibility is much more, and probably somebody will argue against that, but yeah, much more.
Yeah, the frustration lies sometimes when an external person is dealing with the product manager as though they're a project manager, and you're like, no, dude, I do so much more, right? But I want to say this in defense of the project manager, because I've worked with some really great project managers, that have had such great qualifications. Not that qualifications matter, but some of them have done the MBA, etc., etc. And it depends on the size of the project as well, I guess. But they also have a hard time convincing others that what they do is of value. So, especially nowadays with so many great online tools, almost anyone can do project management. But I do find that the level of skill that you've got to have such an organization around stakeholders, which they do, I give them credit for that as well. And also, I believe that they are constantly thinking about the different elements of the project. They go so far as to kind of literally spending hours with the revenue team and finding out what they need. Then they spend hours with, the engineering team. They spend hours with the product team, and they piecing all of these things together in order to ensure that the project is being driven forward. So I give them kudos, but I also do agree that once the project's finished, they can almost go and celebrate, and then they on to the next project. Whereas for us, kind of almost started because we already have that product.
Yeah, and then the iterations that may come up.
We can always, if the audience would like, we can always cover a little bit more about what project managers do. And I'm sorry if I didn't answer it in the light of project managers, but I did. I immediately went to thinking about product managers and what we do.
because
The
that's
question
your
was
school.
to look at the difference. But yeah, I hope that kind of gave a little bit of this distinction.
Yeah, yeah. I did a little bit of not a little bit. I was a project manager for about 7 years
Wow,
earlier on in my career.
that's great.
And I think it's contributed to how far I have come with
Absolutely.
because just that basic knowledge helps you to be a more organized person.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and then adding on the customer facing attributes just makes you like feels like it's a perfect,
Yes,
combination to be a
transition.
product manager. Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to say, I don't want to continue too long on this, but I know a few of the product managers I've worked with actually
Mhm.
transitioned from project managers, and they were well organized, like you said, and just
Mhm.
had insight into the different arms of the company that they also brought into the perspective, as well as
Yeah.
obviously being customer focused. The project, you mentioned it lightly earlier, but project manager. I think nowadays they called scrum masters, right? I I I I still,
Yeah, it's basically
I love there's a specific focus on agile methodology when it
yeah.
comes to scrum master than a project manager, but they are ultimately, I believe, but I stand corrected, trying to do a similar thing. What's your take on that?
Yeah, yeah. I think not trying to do, but that's basically what they do.
Okay.
Similar, just tracking the timeline of a project,
Yeah.
and well, making sure they get into the milestones that I expected
Yes.
at the right time, and then in some or in most cases on budget.
Yes, and it's within the sprint framework. So that kind of
Mhm.
makes it slightly different to a traditional project manager. But ultimately, they're trying to do a similar thing, but within a
Similar thing.
2 or 4 week
Yeah.
period. So my question to you, Hilary, and I wanted to know what you love being a product manager. Just this.
Yeah, yeah. I think my favorite part of being a product manager is um it's like get the feeling that you helped to solve a problem for somebody. Just simply that, right? Going to see what the problem is, coming back, developing something. I get excited about being able to come up with the ideas, the ideation process,
Yeah.
and going back, taking it back to the client and seeing, or the user, and seeing that face light up. Oh yes, I like how this goes, or oh, I could use this for that, or even
You.
getting feedback that about how they could use it that you maybe didn't even think of.
Yeah.
I just that is what I love. And so that would make me go back anytime, talk
Yeah.
to the client, find a problem.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that you said that. I love it because you know, I mentioned to the audience last week that I have a history in actuarial science, and I worked for most of my career as an actuary in more traditional spaces. If they maybe, let's say, lack a little bit of spark, a little bit of,
Right.
oh my gosh, like I'm actually
Yeah.
contributing to something that
To something. Yeah.
Ah, I'm not saying that even now, like I feel that I'm contributing to something that's affecting the whole world. That would be a bit naive,
Mhm.
but I do feel like at least applying my problem solving ability, which is a gift from God, really, in my opinion, and um, being able to apply that to everyday people's needs and uses and wants.
Yeah.
Um, I prefer to get involved in projects that help the help improve processes for people. So that if something, as simple as going shopping is
Yeah.
a hassle, and someone has a
Yeah.
great idea to improve that so that it makes
Yeah.
life for the everyday individual a bit
Yeah.
better and frees up some time, man, that for me is just to even have been part of the thinking behind that, and to even taking it a bit further, like you had said,
Mm-hmm.
develop the design for the interface for
Yeah.
that, and then
Mm-hmm.
see that that actually gets developed on a mobile app or a web app, and then actually,
Yeah. And
you
it's
know,
being used.
see it being used.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it shouldn't be like this ego, oh, I had a part to play in it. It's more that you actually feel this sense of reward and satisfaction
Of
as a
course. Of
as a
course.
professional, that you
Yeah.
could see your what you had contributed come to life,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and your skills being utilized in a
Mm-hmm.
way that helps others. I think for me is, like you say, you go back, just each time you said
Each
go back to
time
the
that
customer.
we,
I,
yeah.
I go back to being a product manager each time. I, I'm so glad that I found this.
Yeah.
Yeah, indirectly,
I
I've
think
said,
a few years ago, let's say a decade ago, I wonder if there was product manager, like anything like product manager position.
I think,
I wonder because I never heard about it until a few years back.
yeah, so a little bit of history of what I've researched myself. I keep pointing to what I've done because I
Yeah.
don't want to, I might be wrong, right? I might have
Yeah.
gaps in what I've
Yeah.
researched. And I'm happy if someone says, no, Kim, actually, it's like this.
Yeah.
Um, but again, just what I've researched and what I know is that product management as a service or as a field did exist to an extent. I know I studied it even in my exams as
Mm,
a component of the broader, let's say,
right.
investments or insurance,
Okay.
because as what I was studying, you had to know how to produce it. You had to know how to produce the financial product effectively. So you had to be
Mm,
able to create it from scratch, and they taught you how to develop product in that way, and then how to maintain it. So there was always, in the larger financial organizations I worked for, there was always a financial team. Obviously, there's the marketing, HR, etc., but there was also
mhm,
a product team. But this was, product teams of around 100 individuals doing work
oh,
for, product development and maintenance for major financial products. And it didn't
okay.
have what I believe, the focus and the intent that tech companies now have and what they've
Mhm,
employed product managers for. I know you
mhm,
start as a product owner effectively in a tech
yeah.
company, you move up to a product manager, and then you move
Product,
to a product lead,
product lead. Yeah.
and then you move up to maybe the CPO, the chief product officer. But for me in tech, because it has been quite well developed in Silicon Valley for around probably 20 years or more, it
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
has in the US existed quite a bit
Quite long.
more
Mm,
than what I would agree with you if you look in the African
right.
context. So for the
Mm-hmm,
audience, I'm South African. I am currently living in France with my husband and my daughter. And Hilary is based in West Africa, in Ghana specifically, with her family. And so we both have predominantly African experience.
yeah.
So I can agree with you that tech in Africa has really only accelerated, especially with funding being focused on helping out tech startups over the last decade. And
Mm-hmm,
with that rise, more and more leanings or learnings from whatever's been happening in the States, but also creating understanding of what product management is within tech has only really got going over the last 10 years. And I would agree with you that even over the last 5 years, that product managers are actually, there's courses for us.
Yeah.
People are actually making content to get certified in this. And I guess that's how all professions start. It starts with some people starting something, right?
Do we have more time?
We do have maybe a minute or so, or 5.
Okay, so then I discovered, no, I didn't discover, but I've seen that the programs with companies like Google, associate product management programs, sorry, that you can apply to. And I was just wondering if there's anything like that here in Africa.
Great question.
But I think we can research and do that and talk about it next episode.
I think that's a great idea, especially if people are interested in getting into this field, or if they are even hiring for product teams or product managers, knowing what to look out for accreditation. I do know that there's also the product school that provides some, at least real-time learning through webinars from very high-end, I want to say, companies, Uber, Airbnb, Google, Facebook, and so the product, well, the chief product officers of those companies that are actually training you on how they deliver product management and product development, which is very useful. And that's accessible to anyone, anywhere on the globe. That's great. But actual certifications and affiliations, let's talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Okay, that was good. Oh, nothing about products. I just had a good bowl of my favorite food, so I'm happy.
Which is, to share?
It's banku and okra soup.
Oh, I know.
Have you had anything like that before?
I know okra, definitely.
Okay.
My mother
banku is like a maize meal.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I know maize
cooked
meal.
and then turned into a ball.
Oh,
so you
that
eat
sounds
it
amazing. Apparently, my favorite food is pasta.
Yeah.
So I need to.
Okay. You need to move to Italy.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Cheers.
right. Cheers.
Before we go, as per always, please, it really helps us if you are able to like, share, and subscribe. But there's no pressure, and we just really appreciate you being here. And if you've lasted throughout this video, we would love to wish you a lovely day or a lovely evening. And we hope that you join us again next week for the next episode.
Right. And tell us what you think about the differences we talked about, product management and project management.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Thanks, Hilary.
Cheers. Bye.